Welcome back to the channel. Boosters don't work in people who've already had COVID-19. This is a new paper out from John Ioannidis and colleagues. It comes out in the European Journal of Clinical Investigation and not the Journal of Obvious Things, because it would be obvious that boosters don't work in people who had COVID-19. This is a new observational study. Let me walk you through this. I've written about it on my Substack, Vinay Prasad's Observations and Thoughts. It's a very interesting study. First, what do you need to know? Well, because the US FDA was derelict on their duties, they did not compel the manufacturers of these vaccine products to run a randomized control trial each year to know in whom the booster works. We also did not make the companies run randomized trials in people who have already had and recovered from COVID-19. Good to be back here behind the desk. And I have a lot to tell you about. Today, we're going to talk about the Thailand myocarditis study. It's out now on my Substack post. I read the paper. I want to put it in context for you. But before we do that, I just want to point out that COVID absurdity is not unique to this country. If you take a train from Geneva, Switzerland to Venice, Italy, you will have to go unmasked.
Welcome to this talk, and we're carrying on thinking about last week's debate in Parliament about excess deaths started by Mr. Andrew Bridgen. Now,
so after sharing
the contribution
the
of one
cabin, that car of 100 people, we suddenly put our mask on. On the way back, of course, the mask policy switches again. And the moment you cross back into Switzerland, you can take off the mask. And I happened to see an Italian gentleman who was wearing an N95 or a KF94, some serious mask. And the moment we crossed that Swiss border, I saw him pull it off one ear, pull it off the other ear. He crumpled it up in his hand, and he threw it in the trash can right there. And then he took a deep breath, and he smiled. And that's really exactly what happened. Swiss stores, of course, have a 0.0% masking rate in the store. But San Francisco, of course, there's a couple times yesterday. I want to walk you through those. But I want to talk more broadly about her failures of evidence generation, et cetera, et cetera. Rochelle Walensky is just, frankly, not a good CDC director. She trivializes harms of vaccines. She has a one-size-fits-all mentality when it comes to vaccine recommendations, but except for the new one, where, of course, now we can focus on 65 and up. So people seem to forget the argument, which was we couldn't have had a tailored guidance for 65 and up because people will be too confused by that guidance. And now they're going to go ahead and issue such guidance showing that the American people are smart enough to know how old they are. To prove that by vaccinating those people, they get an additional reduction in severe disease or hospitalization. We didn't make the companies do that. And that is a failure of the US FDA primarily, also a failure of the European Medicines Agency. Instead of that, we use observational studies to make inferences about how well these vaccine products work. The problem is observational studies are biased. The people who choose and rush out to get the latest booster are different than those who don't rush out to get the latest booster. So there's more difference than just getting the booster. There's the confounding by the type of person who goes out and gets the booster. And that's often called the healthy vaccinee bias, that a person who's health crazed, who's very precautious, they're going to rush out and get it before somebody who's not.